Hey everybody, this is PJ Riley from Competition Archery Media.
My name is Hugo Lowe.
Hello, I'm Christina Percoli from San Marino.
Greetings, this is Jay Barsh from the 107 Club.
I'm Ryan. I'm with Anchor Point Archery in Goodyear, Arizona.
We are Community Barebow. This is for the Barebow Project. Go Barebow!
This is
the Barebow Project.
And this is the Barebow Project.
And this is the Barebow Project.
And you're watching the Barebow Project.
And you're watching the Barebow Project.
I'm Grayson Partlow, and this is the Barebow Project. I think that was an 8.
Welcome back to the Barebow Project. My name is Frank McDonough. I am your host. If you don't know, now you know. I am recording here, episode 118. It's more answering your Barebow questions, mostly from online. I've been pulling a lot from online, and I think the reason being is because it's stuff that people want to talk about. So why not talk about it? So anyways, with that being said, there's a couple of things I want you to consider. A lot of these questions that I'm going to review in this episode, a lot of this stuff is actually addressed in the Barebow Project Shooter School. That is as accessible to all Patreon members that are state champ level or better. Well, there's only one level. It's state champ or it's just a listener. Remember, state champs can join the live recordings on Zoom. They know what that's all about. I just wanted to remind everybody that that's an option. I think it's Patreon, and you get a free t-shirt, and you get access to the shooter school, and I do form evals and private lessons. It's all included, and it's a nominal amount of money, $20. So with that being said, go check it out. It's in the link in the bio, both on YouTube and Instagram and pretty much everywhere else. And that's my shameless plug that I'm going to run at all of you right now. I just got back a little while ago. I was reffing tonight. I got on Discord on my way out there. Oh, that reminds me. It's the other thing we have. We have the Discord server. What is that? That's live recording announcements, new episode announcement, rules talk, equipment talk, tuning talk. And I'm actually recording right now, not technically live, but for anyone to log in and listen and talk, they can log into Barebow Talk channel on Discord. It's almost like a chat feature. You log in, boom, and we can just chat back and forth right here on the episode. So there's that. There's my microphone, and I completely forgot to move it. Anyway, that out of the way, so it's still in the blur. So let's go over our first topic right here. All right, this was from the Barebow group. Our friend Kest Cousins. I don't know if that's your first and last name or what that is, but it is what it is. I put in the a request there. I love that the Bow Band, who is a previous sponsor of the Barebow Project, small company, so I try to help him out as much as I can. Like this post, finger sling or wrist sling? Let me know what you prefer and why. All right, Kest. I'm gonna tell you right now. I prefer a finger sling. That's just me. I think as long as you have one or the other, it's fine. And it really also depends on, I think, grip, position, and location, as well as your follow through. Now, when I said you should have one or the other, for those of you out there that are still shooting without one, I guarantee you, at some point throughout each tournament, you're putting some kind of pressure of sorts unknowingly on the grip prior to letting the bow go. We have it's our natural tendency to want to grab the bow as the shot releases. So I think that's where we have to think about, like, what makes more sense. Hold on, my Discord server closed. What makes more sense? Is our goal to completely not influence the bow whatsoever? Because remember, and I've said this a million times, I'm going to say it 1,000,001. The bow shoots the arrow perfect every time. We're the ones that screw it up. We're the ones that influence the arrow not going to the middle, specifically once a tune is achieved. So listen, get yourself a finger sling or a bow sling. I prefer a finger sling, and it's as primitive as you can get. It's a piece of paracord, pulled the innards out, tied it off on a slip knot, an overhand knot tied into a slip knot, and I just slide it here, and that's it. Because I don't like, I'm just not a fan of the reaction of the bow on the wrist. And that's also probably a carryover from my Olympic recurve days, because I would want to do this and let that bow drop, and I still have that tendency a little bit to leave these fingers open and just let the bow shoot forward. But I just don't dip the hand. I don't dip the hand in the cookie jar per se. All right, let's get into this next one. I think this is it here. It is. This is from the Barebow group. This is Kevin Clark. Kevin, thanks for letting me comment on this one, and letting me talk about it on the podcast. We chatted, and I was like, hey, mind if I talk about this? Fletched arrows right down the middle from 15, 20, 25, and 30 yards. They were flying so well, I almost didn't bother to bear shaft tune. Bear shafts kicking wildly to the left. Drastic right impacting, 18-inch left at 15 yards, and I have no idea what to think. Any ideas? Now, before we move into this, I did ask, what was the setup? Let's pull that up. So here's your setup question. I said this will make a great podcast segment. We'll plunger intention, full arrow, and bow setup. Setup was Sebastian Flute Evo, Samick R3 foam limbs. Those are a great economy limb, by the way. Shibuya Ultimate Rest, Whiffler Plunger, 28-pound draw weight, 800 spine VAPs with 100 grain points. Doesn't sound all that incredibly off, with exception to one thing, and that's an 800 spine at 28 pounds. That's about right. The 100 grain points, if that's a full length arrow, the 100 grain points actually might be a little bit over spined, but regardless of that, that doesn't matter. I do, what I want to pay attention to is go back to the original question and just have a discussion about that. This is the wrong picture that I wanted to share. Did I close that? I didn't think I did. Huh? I might have. Let me see. Close that. There it is. All right. So the fletch arrows right down the middle, 15, 20, 25, 30 yards. Here's something I want to bring up, and it's something that's probably not talked about quite enough. And it's false tunes. We can shoot a bare shaft. We can get a bare shaft, or not a bare shaft. We can shoot a fletch shaft and get them to group at 18 meters. All right. We could get, hey, Grayson just joined in on the Discord platform. What's up, dude? Hey, hold on a second. Let me turn my volume up. It is, but I'm like recording an episode, so if you want to see anything crazy, don't do that right now. But if you want to comment on this one topic, you're more than welcome to.
What's the topic?
So I don't know if you saw the post or not. There was a post in the Barebow group, and it was Kevin Clark posted. He said, fletch arrows right down the middle from 15, 20, 25 25, 30 yards. They were flying so well, I almost didn't bother bear shaft tuning, and then bear shafts kicking wildly to the left. Drastic knock, right impact, 18 inches left at 15 yards. I have no idea what to think. Any ideas? Then he gave me a setup, and the setup was like 28 pounds, 800 VAP with 100 grain point. Did you get all that?
Yeah, 28 pounds, 800 round, or 800 spine VAP.
Yep, 100 grain point. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a false tune. That's what I think he's got going on there. That's just my opinion at face value of and experience. Like, I think he's got a false tune there. I think those fletched arrows are probably Did you ever have like where, and maybe you haven't experienced this, I know I have, where you have contact, but they still group? And then that contact,
Yes.
what's that?
Yes, I definitely have.
Yeah.
It's such a pain.
It is such a pain. And I think that's what he's going through. He's got contact and it's sort of working at face value, but as soon as you get outside of, like, you start playing with the plunger, if you're playing with left and rights, um, and then all of a sudden those groups are gonna just get wild. So I'm guessing that's a false tune. Start with the bear shaft. I think if a full length VAP with 100 grain point at 28 pounds seems a little, that could be a weak arrow. What do you think?
No, it's so individual. Could be. Yeah, I've shot 800 spine VAPs at 38 pounds before and made it work.
Was that a shorter arrow though?
Yeah, they were cut down pretty short.
Yeah, so we don't have that
know.
information. I don't
Yeah,
have the
but,
arrow length.
It depends on what he's trying to do. If he's just trying to shoot at one distance
Mm-hmm.
and they're grouping well,
Mm-hmm.
you can run with that and be fine.
Yeah, I
Trying
mean,
to set up something to string walk with and
yeah,
shoot multiple distances, I would scrap whatever he's got and
yeah,
try to get the bear shaft somewhat close
yeah, go back to the
and
drawing
work off
board.
of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense. I don't know if Kevin's shooting primarily indoors right now or not. But Kevin, you heard it first. You heard it from Grayson, and Grayson understands tuning not probably, definitely better than I do. I think that's a fair assessment though. If you're shooting 18 meters, 20 yards indoors, you could probably get away with it and be okay. You're going to give up some points, but it doesn't affect it quite as much, even if with a false tune. Like, you could still shoot good scores with a shitty tune. Yeah, I just said that.
Yeah,
No,
for sure.
um,
If you want to mess with it a little bit, just kind of mark down your settings, what you have, so you can always go back to it if you want.
yeah,
But then do something drastic on either end, like go up to 150 grain point and see what that does.
or opposite, go down to 80 or 75.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Try to do something pretty drastic on the stiff and the weak side just to see what happens.
yeah, with the
and
bear
go from
shaft.
there. Yes, correct.
Yeah,
That's
great.
what I would do.
Great input, man. Thank you for your response on that question. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Pillar part. So indoors, you're half turn out on the top and a full turn out on the bottom. Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's just with this new setup I'm playing with.
right.
So
Right.
when I say I bottom out the limbs, I'll tighten the limb bolts in all the way, and then I'll back them off half a turn.
Right. And that's because you notice that how much of a difference you're getting on holding with that. Your experience.
So I'll normally do it so I have some play for tiller. If you're bottomed out all the way, you can't make any adjustment for tiller. If you wanted to go positive, you couldn't really make any adjustment on the top, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. Yeah.
So you have a half turn to play with. And then if I want negative, which I typically do, I'll go another half turn or maybe 3/4 of a turn on the bottom to get where I want to go.
Yeah. Good.
So,
all right. No, it makes complete sense. And I think a lot of people, that's one of the reasons I think I like shooting the extra long limbs. Because you can get away with even tiller a little bit easier. Plus, even tiller, I'm not gonna lie to you, that's probably just a lazy man's way of going after it. Just keep it even, be done with it, and deal with it. But you're right. I guess you can play with it, keep an eye on it, and really find what the best feel is for holding on individual setups. And it's going to vary setup to setup, person to person. But
yeah, I mean, great archers have used a wide variety of tillers. So I don't think there's any correct answer.
No,
it's more about feel and what you've learned over the course of time.
It's just like everything else in Barebow.
Everything that I know I've picked up from good shooters. I have nothing original really. So I just kind of tried what everybody else has done and like I was saying before, if you go to extremes, try a 1/4 inch positive and then a 1/4 inch negative, you should be able to feel the difference at full draw, like how the bow feels, whether it wants to pull up or down.
Yeah.
And I kind of settled for indoor. I like 3/16 negative or a 1/4 inch negative. And then for 50 meters, I'll run it closer to even. But I think if you didn't want to get into the weeds on it, just set it at even and move on. It's not worth wasting a lot of time on, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think there's probably a return on investment once you become consistent and dare I say accurate enough to feel the difference. That's
Yeah.
where the return on investment is. If you're not at that point yet, like if you're, for example, if you're outdoors and you're not breaking 500 at 50 meters, there's a good chance that you're not going to have that return on investment. If you're shooting indoors, you're not breaking 500 at 18 meters. Maybe a little less than that, maybe 480, 490, whatever. Maybe you're not really getting the return on investment on that because you still have a lot of other things you have to work out in your shot process and whatnot. But there's
Even
nuance.
higher than that.
Yeah,
If you're not
maybe.
shooting
Yeah.
600 or 620 outdoors or
Yeah.
520 to 540 indoors, like it's probably not a big deal. Even more than that, honestly. Like you could set it at even and shoot fantastic.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
more just like an intricacy of shooting, a personal feel thing. If you want to mess with it, have fun with it. I know a lot of people like to tinker and have fun with small things, so go for it. But I don't think it's going to gain you a whole lot.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man. Thanks for sharing that quick tidbit. Appreciate it. Well, that was a nice little guest appearance from Grayson Partlow. Grayson's got some getting back into shooting. He's got some time on his hands, and appreciate Grayson for popping on Discord real quick and just having a conversation, talking about his tiller and how he sets up his bows and why he does what he does. So shout out to that lad. Let's get back into our Barebow questions. This one from the Barebow project. I'm not sure. Guide Sebecki. I love that name actually. It's kind of cool. So I'm working on a 30 days of practice schedule that mixes range days with drills, exercise, or mental work. Any ideas for 30-minute sessions that may have to take place at home or away from a bow? So I commented on this one also, and I was like, hey, can I drop this topic on the next podcast? This is what I'm gonna say. Doing 30 days of practice at 30-minute sessions is actually a great idea. I love the idea of it. I don't know if you're going to get a ton accomplished in 30 minutes. I will say this, that on the Barebow Project Shooter School, there's a full shooting program already built into the shooting school that you can actually take and modify for yourself. And there's actually a video in there of how to do that and how to focus on the things that you are currently struggling with, and then what drills, exercises, and call them activities for lack of a better description, that you can do to help you work on those things. So, but if you're going to take it in a 7-day a week, I don't know if I would do 7 days. I would, if you want to do 30 days in a row, more power to you. I would give yourself some kind of rest, and at least on those active rest days, I would be doing like mental work, meditation, yoga, exercise, maybe other types of activities that are fun and rejuvenating. Throwing darts, whether it's electronic or real darts, shooting basketball, something that still requires that hand-eye movement and maybe has a level of accuracy, even shooting guns for target practice. But like I think there's ways for you to take on that 30-day calendar. But what I would be doing is I would be incorporating more drills than shooting for score. One, two, I would be also I would be adding the progression drill, and I would be adding in the best drill, both of which are talked about on the podcast on the YouTube page. Just search it, the best drill, Barebow best drill or whatever. And the whole description of how to do that drill and the progression drill. The progression drill is kind of a key component because it teaches you how to separate the different aspects of the shot process. But I mean, shout out to you for taking that. I mean, that's some really goal driven stuff. And I think that if you can finish that 30-day cycle, you're going to come out such a better shooter on the backside of that schedule. So let me know if you have any more questions. Also, you can consider, again, you can join Patreon, get access to the shooter school, and you can actually go right into the shooting schedule portion of the classroom and get an idea right off the bat of, hey, well, I can break these 5 days down and add these 2 days into, or I think it's either a 3 or 4 day schedule, and you can break those individual days into extra sessions, because those sessions will probably take you about an hour and a half, hour to an hour and a half by volume. But again, and that's another thing I want to add, is that you should still, even though you're doing 30 minutes for 30 days, you should still cater your volume accordingly. What I mean by that is, if your first week you shoot, let's say your first week you shoot, let's go with 500 arrows in your first week. Your second week you should shoot, let's say, like 350 arrows or 400 arrows, something like that. And then cut that number in half. Or, well, cut 500. Let's say you go 500, 350, 250, 150, and then 60 to 100 in your last week. Something along those lines. Just split it up accordingly so that you have some time to recover, so that all that work that you did in the first 2 to 3 weeks carries over to that last week, but you do less arrows in order to let your body and your mind recover, and then kind of you get the best of your recovery and your body's function, and you get the highest level of mental engagement and shot process also all at the same time. So there's that. Hope that helps. All right, let's go into another one here. So it'll be our last one for this episode. This is from Colin McKenzie from the Barebow group. Looking for advice on holding a consistent aim point indoors. Have just changed bows to a mic end, but also had this issue with my Viago. When aiming indoors at full draw, I feel like I really have to struggle against the bow to aim up to where I want to be on the target face. The bow feels like it wants to sit with my arrow somewhere in the blue start of red underneath, so somewhere 6 o'clock. I'm shooting with medium carbon limbs, 38 pounds on the fingers, and a string walk, 6 large lines from about an inch. Shooting 28-inch Avance arrows, currently on 22 centimeter brace height. I'm not sure what that is in, hey Siri.
Uh-huh.
How many inches is 22 centimeters?
22 centimeters is 8.66 inches.
Okay, so we're at 8.5 inches, 8.66 to be exact. Brace height and 3 millimeter negative tiller. Well, I just had that conversation with Grayson, ironically. Also have the inbuilt mic and weight and another 150 grains on the front of the bushing. Okay. So I don't know how long your arrow is. Everything else sounds pretty, and I don't know what spine your arrow is, but that has nothing to do with aiming. So The negative tiller probably helps a little bit. 3 millimeters isn't a lot. As far as negative tiller, you could probably go a little bit more, to be quite honest with you. So just, hey Siri, what's a 1/4 inch in millimeters?
0.25 inches is 6.35 millimeters.
So I think, Column, I think you could probably go. I would play with to see if it helps, and if you're at that point, um, of from a score standpoint, I would play with a little bit higher negative tiller. Maybe get up to a 1/4 inch max, somewhere in there. Or 6 point, I think she's whatever, 6 millimeters, 6.6, 6.3, I don't know what it was, but that's about as far as I would go. I mean, you can play with the extreme end of that. Grayson actually talked about that, go to the extreme end of one thing and just figure out what works and feels the best for you. In regards to the advice on holding, I'll be honest with you. I don't think that your equipment, the negative tiller, the riser weight, I don't think any of that has anything to do with it. I think you have just a smidge of target panic and aiming anxiety. Everybody uses different verbiage for what they are. I'll be honest with you. I personally, I call it all target panic. I don't delineate like this is definitive target panic. I think you're plucking the string because the point gets to the middle. That's target panic. I think you get stuck below. That's target panic. I think you get stuck in the blue red somewhere in the 6, 7, 8 o'clock area. That's target panic. I think it's all target panic. I think that we are too like scared to call a thing target panic. I think you need to train your aim. I think you need to train yourself to separate the aim from the rest of the shot. I think that there's drills and there's um, mental approaches and there's a lot of other factors that um, or things that you can do that influence those factors, I should say, that will make you um, more comfortable with that aim and help you focus more on, hey, what's happening after the aim, and letting your mind um maybe a little bit subconsciously go into a different area of consciously managing your shot after the aim. And I think, that bow feeling heavy, in my opinion, is oftentimes has nothing to do with those other factors that you mentioned. It has everything to do with the fact that that you're not separating the aim from the shot activation, and that you're letting yourself get stuck because you're going to let go because you're not committed to anything past that. I know in previous episodes, excuse me, Grayson, I think, actually talked about it where he would I don't know if he's still shooting this way, but it was I mean, for a while he was shooting real well, and it was working. So but he always has something that he looks after the aim. I think for a while. Oh, excuse me. This is what happens when you record a podcast at 11:30 at night. Um, it was the string blur. He would put the point in the middle, go back to the string blur, make sure it's right. Maybe not do it on every single arrow, but on the ones where he needed it, or if he shot one that was a little quick on the previous um, end, he'd make a more diligent effort to make sure that, hey, I'm going to put this arrow in the middle, then I'm going to move on to the string blur, and then I'm going to sit back on the aim, and that shot's going to activate when it activates. You're not really consciously letting it go. There's that mind managed body feel aspect. You mind manage certain things in the shot process, and you also go with body feel aspects of the shot process. And you have to mind manage that aim a little bit to the point where you can get to the body feel, which allows that shot to activate. Hope that makes sense, and I hope that that helps you. I think I might have said this was the previous one was the last one, but I was wrong. We're gonna go with Hector Leon. Hector's shooting pretty good. He posted in the Barebow project, overanalyzing question mark. During practice when I am only focusing on the shot process, everything looks and feels great. I can practice for hours on end, building stamina without keeping score after arrow. They consistently find the 8 ring or better. I'm working on improving that. Now, when I score around, the first 4 ends are really strong, consistent shots based on my average scores. By the end of 5, something in my mental shot process seems to break down. I attempt to correct this by audibly saying my shot process in hopes it registers in my head instead of just actively thinking about my process. However, N6 is similar to N5. I reset my thinking, I breathe, I refocus, my N scores then pick back up to my average N scores. This consistently happens regardless if I've warmed up or started scoring cold. All right, Hector, this is a common problem. I'm not going to lie to you in the beginning. This was a problem that I kind of dealt with, and then later on, after I stopped really practicing, it kind of resurfaced its face, its head, the ugly monster that it is. Let me tell you something. We become complacent with shooting well sometimes in tournaments, and we lose focus of the process that actually produced the score, but produced the arrows that got us to that point. So arrow, and you're super excited and super focused, ends 1 through 4. And then what happens is we relax just a little bit. Oh, I'm shooting real good. Oh, I'm having a great day. Then we allow ourselves to just relax that little bit, and we're thinking about, you know what? I got this. This is happening. This is a good day. And you're running your shot process, but instead of thinking about, well, I need to complete this full shot 150% engaged, we become unengaged because we're thinking about the previous arrows that we just shot that were so good. I know that sounds a little counterintuitive, but what I'm saying to you is that whether we are focusing on trying not to shoot bad arrows in the future, or whether we're subconsciously thinking about the good arrows that we shot the previous 4 ends, it's the same result. We're still not thinking about the arrow that we're supposed to be working on right now and the process that actually puts that arrow in the desired scoring ring that we're trying to get. That's a moment of high personal value. And in those moments of high personal value, we have a tendency to get outside of our shot process because we're thinking about things that resulted in that moment of high personal value instead of just thinking about the process with which produces the score of the arrow that we desire. I hope that makes sense. It's really, like I said, it's kind of counterintuitive because you're like, well, I should be excited, or I should be happy, or I should be, but you can be all of those things, but you can't be all of those things and lose focus, because once you lose focus, those things go away. And it kind of goes back to the idea of you learning to operate your bow, not shoot your bow. You learn to operate your bow so that your bow can perform flawlessly. That's the goal on every arrow. You're an operator. You're not a competitor. Just operate the bow to get the best out of that piece of equipment as you can. When you learn to get what that produces, is that produces a shooter that gets the best out of that shooter. I mean, and I've talked about that previously on the podcast. I want you to be the best version of yourself for that day during a tournament. Not the best competitor, not shoot the highest score. I just want you to be the best version of yourself. That has more carryover and makes you It makes you a better person. Let's face it. When you're the best version of yourself all the time. Um, Moment of transparency. For a long time, I wasn't the best version of myself. Even with this podcast, I didn't understand the value of the podcast and what the information that could be shared, and a lot of it became a distraction of sorts, even for my own personal archery. And I don't want, and while I've said this before, I said this last episode, I think, I don't change any of the information I put out there, and the coaching content was all very, very good. It's just the idea that, like, archery is not about shooting the highest score. Archery is not about winning every tournament. Um, Nor is Barebow in any way. Archery, competitive archery, is about being the best version of yourself every day, that day, podium or not, and accepting the fact that maybe you just weren't good enough that one time, and that it's okay to fail, providing you continue to work on becoming better. That's what archery is. And that's how you become a winner. You become a winner by not caring so much about losing as you do about working hard to become a better version of yourself behind the bow. Maybe this podcast might have got a little deep, but whatever. I don't care. This is the way I want to do things. This is the stuff that, I mean, there's going to be interviews and stuff like that. That stuff's going to come. But I'm just switching gears a little bit. I want people to be involved in the shooter school. I want to be able to develop that content and really put a platform out there so that people can join it and become better by going through it, almost like it's pursuing a degree. And then take that information and wrap it all up and write it in a book. That's what I want to do. So anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed this episode. I know again, these are unconventional episodes. It's not the old school, 4 or 5 people joking around, having a good time platform. But you know what? I don't care. This is what I want to do. And I think that this can help a lot of people. And that's why I'm doing it this way. So once again, I want to say I love you all. I think Barebow is amazing. The community is amazing, and I appreciate the support from so many people across the board. I owe thanks to so many people, and that's it. That's the end of episode 18, 118, 118. I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Well, it's now 11:42, so you're all in bed. Anyway, deuces. Peace out.